great evening, beautiful people. We are so excited to have you join us tonight on this beautiful Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but my Sunday was absolutely amazing. I had the time to go to service and sit down with my sister afterwards, right? Just to enjoy a beautiful day. So we hope that you too had time today. And y'all hear Jet. I hadn't talked about Jet in a while, but you hear him. He's always cutting up. Thank you guys so very much for joining us tonight. Make sure you drop a great evening, a hello. Let us know where you are joining us from, because we are always so extremely excited to have you guys join with us. Remember, for a good time, not a long time, just to help you get some tips, some strategies, so that as you walk into your day on Monday, you feel just a little more pep in your step. Like you feel just a little more encouraged, just a little more motivated to go make impact, to go make boss moves. And you guys know what boss move stands for. It stands for us being bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. But listen, tonight we're going to get the party started. I am so excited to have a guest with us, and I'm going to bring him right on up. Great evening. How are you doing?
Doc. How you doing, Doc? Good to see you.
I'm doing so well. Listen, I always ask the people, what are they drinking? So I'll ask you, what have you had to drink lately? I got some hot tea, some mint hot tea in my cup. What about you, sir?
I got some nice spring water. Got some Eternal, high alkaline. You got to get you some Eternal water. You know, I got a house. I got kids in the house. So I got to put my name on my water. You know, so
well, that's the real stuff, right? That's the real life stuff.
Some high alkaline spring water, can't go wrong.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. I've only recently started drinking Eternal. It's not always easy to find, so when I get it, I get the really big jugs of it, and I load up on those. So we're excited.
Go to dollar store. Go to CVS. Go to Publix.
Dollar store? No, they are not dollar store. No.
Dollar store. Come on, man. Gonna pick you up some.
I'm going in the morning, knocking on. I am looking for Eternal. Those folks are gonna look at me crazy in there. It's not made it here in the dollar store, so I'm gonna be looking for.
What about Publix? You got Publix?
No, we don't have a Publix here either.
Okay. Yeah. Well, CVS has it. Dollar store. Come on. Yeah. I got dollar store everywhere. Come on.
Dollar store is everywhere. We have a few local local health stores, right? Okay. Where I get my CMOS and stuff. That's where I mostly get that from. But okay, listen, it's time to get the party started. So we have you on today. You guys go ahead and drop in the comments 20. We are officially on episode 20. We are so super excited about it. Tonight's topic is one that, can I be honest, we all need some. If you are a parent, if you are even the preacher, okay? If you are a teacher, this is something that every single person that I know personally and professionally can benefit from. And that's what we're talking about. How do you motivate people, right? We're coming from the lens of education, but we know that it's bigger than just education, right? How do you motivate colleagues? How do you motivate teams? How do you motivate people to a cause? But y'all, before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about the motivator here we have on the screen with us. We have with us none other than Mr. Robert Jackson. Listen, he is known for saying, for every problem, there is a solution. Y'all go ahead and drop that in the chat as we get the party started. For every problem, there is a solution. That's his number one motto. Jackson began his teaching career 27 years ago in Indianapolis public schools. Catch this. After being cut from the NFL Minnesota Vikings in 1995. He has become one of the most sought after speakers in the country, delivering keynote addresses and workshops to educators, administrators, parents, and students. Mr. Jackson has written and published seven books, and has written articles for ASCD Leadership Magazine. His ASCD book, Becoming the Educator They Need, Strategies, Mindsets, and Beliefs for Supporting Black, Male, and Latino Students, won the Gold Excel Award for Technical Writing, and his soon-to-be-released book is for mothers raising sons. And y'all, you got to get that one. I have that one in my, you've got to get that one. It has been an amazing read, very impactful, very inspiring, very practical, right? Stuff that you can immediately use. He attended Western Kentucky University, where he received his BS degree in industrial technology while lettering 4 years in both football and track. He has keynoted and conducted workshops at national conferences, including ASCD, ESEA, CASA, NASB, SREB, Innovative School Summit, AMLE, AS, and all you educators, y'all know we have letters and acronyms for everything. You guys know exactly what they're. Just know that means he's speaking everywhere. That's what that means. Mr. Jackson has received numerous awards for his work. He is a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and the NFL Players Association. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Doc. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on with the boss. The boss educator stands for bold, optimistic, spontaneous, substantial. Boy, y'all better recognize boss.
Yes. And remember, being boss, I have to remind people, it's not about your position. It's about you asking yourself, am I operating in my purpose? And am I operating at my highest level in my purpose? That's what being boss is about. But here we go. Let's jump right on in, because you have such a unique and inspiring story. So we want to get the party started, folks. And y'all, don't forget to like, follow, and share this page with your friends. Make sure that even for the video, you've liked it. We want to get the algorithm going, right? We want to get everybody to be able to see all the good stuff. But here we go. What led you to education and motivation, right? Because the name of your company is Robert Jackson Motivate. So talk to us about what led you right here to education, and now even outside of the lens of one school, one building, you are educating and motivating the masses. How did you get here?
Well, first of all, you mentioned earlier, Doc, about NFL. NFL stands for not for long. So that's what got me here. I thought I was going to play 10 years. I played 10 minutes. So, when I got hurt.
Say that one more time, because, so many of us are babies and we don't want to limit their aspirations. That's not what we want to do, right? But we want them to have realistic solutions for possible problems that they may face. So tell the folks one more time, y'all turn it up so your children, and so you can replay this in your classroom tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually wrote a chapter about that in my first book called No More Excuses, Black Men Stand Up. I have a chapter called NFL Not For Long, because you have to have a plan just in case it doesn't work out. What is your fallback plan? So you asked me earlier what prompted me to get in education. I had a mentor who's the superintendent of schools. His name was Dr. Eugene White. He's also a frat brother of mine and mentor. And he told me, he said, look, football don't work out. You need to jump into education. And he introduced me to NAPSI. And, that's when I started teaching in the mid 90s, no cell phones and none of that stuff, just pure adrenaline. And, you think you know a lot. You think you know a lot about educators till you really get in the trenches and get in that classroom. And same school I got kicked out of, I started teaching that. And, it's funny because there's a lot of people making decisions about educators who've never been in the classroom. I don't understand that. But that's when I started my teaching career, and it took off from there, trying to educate, activate, and motivate kids to be great while I was broken myself. Getting cut from the NFL, I was dealing with anxiety, depression, and, dealing with all kind of stuff, all kind of elements out there. But a person giving you advice has their own set of shortcomings, but it doesn't mean they can't give you the piece that you're missing. And, God, blessed me to be able to bless others even while I was trying to get myself together. So that's how I got started in teaching and coaching. And, I called myself going through the administrative track to be an administrator, but he called me to do, even greater work, getting on the road, speaking, motivating educators to be great, motivating students, and not forgetting about those parents, because we got to motivate parents too, and encourage parents to do their part. So that's how I got started.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing it. What do you think? What was a pivotal moment for you, your first couple of years in education? What do you think was one of those moments that you were like, yep, this is for me? Might not be easy, but this is for me. What was one of those moments for you?
Well, the same day I got cussed out by a couple kids was the same day another kid came up to me thanking me for pouring into their life. So it was kind of, I had some mixed emotions because anybody who's been in education for any amount of time know it can be stressful.
Yeah.
Kids are disrespectful. Disrespect is taught. I didn't understand. We didn't call it trauma back then. We saying, kids been through something. Now they got all the names and the buzzwords and all that. But, and adults go through trauma. So I think it was a pivotal moment when I had a young man in class who, when I was grade quit, he stopped me from quitting by knocking on my window when I was backing out the driveway. And then, he decided he wanted to quit school 6 months later. And I talked him out of doing it. So I think we both were made for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I knew that this was my calling and, this is what God really wanted me to do. And I had to let go of the sports and all the other stuff. And this has been much more rewarding, to be honest with you.
I love it. I love it. So here we go. Let's lean on in. Talking about motivation. What do you see right now? Because that's what I tell people, depending on where you stand, the view is different, right? Perspective is a really beautiful, powerful thing, right? And so you've had the perspective of being an A school system, but now you get the beautiful opportunity to see a massive gamut of schools, right? So what do you see right now as being a major cause of disengagement in use? We could talk about solutions, but we got to be clear on the why, what's happening, and then create a solution. Because I think too many times we give solutions to problems that don't exist.
Right.
So we giving, I say it all the time, we painting the lipstick on the pig, and like it's still a pig, and we didn't get to the root cause of the fact of why it likes mud, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
Based on your opportunity that you have to be all over the country and even outside of the country, what do you see as one of the major causes of disengagement and unmotivated babies and scholars and even adults, right? Adults too.
I think it starts with energy, and I think it's a lack of accountability and a lack of energy and passion for the assignment, because we don't have jobs, we have assignments, right? And I believe that in order to engage with kids these days, you got to bring a certain kind of energy. Even if you don't have the swag, just bring the energy and have the passion for the work. Everything else will work itself out. As I go into these different places, whether I'm going to California, Florida, I just got back from St. Thomas, and there's educators who are burned out. And when you burned out, when you stressed out, good for yourself, good for anybody else. And we have educators who are burned out and stressed out who are going in front of kids every day. Kids are stressed out. Kids are burned out. Kids are traumatized. Educators stressed out, burned out. So you have fire trying to put out fire. And I'm seeing a lot of that. So when I'm talking to educators, I'm trying to get them to shift their mindset and shift their energy and work on practicing self-care and taking care of yourself. Last thing the pilot tell you or the flight attendant tell you before that plane take off, put the mask on yourself first. Educators, we got to put the mask on ourselves. In order for us to educate, activate, and motivate kids to be great, you got to give some effort. Sometimes you got to do extra. You got to be coachable. Nobody knows everything. You have to have the right attitude. You got to have the work ethic to go with that. That means the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. You got to be on time and show these kids that you care. You got to have some energy. You got to have the right body language. You got to have passion. But last but not least, you got to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Wait a minute. We got to drop that one in the chat. Y'all drop that one in the chat. Say it again, slow and steady for the people, so we can get that one in our spirit. What did you say?
My 5 P's I've gone by my whole life. I've taught it to my kids, my students. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. The 5 P's. And when you prepare and you come in with the right passion, and you come in with the right attitude, you're going to start shifting lives. I mean, it just, when that energy is out and you start speaking those words out into, when you get that energy out there, see, words are like seeds. What seeds are you planting? And when you plant the right seeds,
y'all drop that in the chat. What seeds are you planting?
I'm trying to save somebody today. You talking about you want to quit? No, you're not planting the right seeds, because there's power in your words. Words have weight. There's purpose in pain. Anytime you go through a painful situation, understand there's purpose in your pain. And you got to say, what was the lesson? Because every time, not every now and then, every time you speak, you're planting a seed. What seeds are you planting? And we got to start planting seeds in the disengagement with our youth. When you looking at somebody and you don't believe I can be educated, activated, motivated, then your words and your actions are not going to follow.
Listen, you talking boss talk. You talking boss talk. We talk about this all the time. What you believe drives what you will do. Beliefs drive behavior every single time. Something else that you said that is a core fundamental aspect of the boss framework is energy is contagious. Energy, listen, positive energy, negative energy, like traumatic energy, anxious energy, calm energy, all of the energy is contagious. And I say it, I tell people, if you hear nothing else, you got to know, you got to manage your energy so you're only spreading the good stuff. Listen, we a couple of weeks ago, COVID was at an uptick again.
Yep.
It's coming on back down again, but it was like, okay, we spreading something other than COVID. We got to know every single day you are spreading something other than COVID or other than whatever the cold or what every day, all day, when you are leaving people, you're leaving something behind. I tell you, you're leaving something behind. So what is it that you are leaving behind? Talk to us about one of those chapters in the book where you talk about some possible things, even with the mothers to son. I think that's always a great one too. Like, what are some things that you want to say even to mothers who are trying to work through parenting a child, a son, a daughter who seems to be just disconnected? Disconnected is the word that I was used for moms, right? What do you say to parents?
Well, I would tell parents to respect your child's voice, but also there's a time where you got to step up and make decisions and be a parent. And it's not always going to be happy endings. It's not always going to be everybody excited about your decisions. But I'm 53. I have a son that's 26. I have a daughter that's 17. I got a nephew who's also 17 who lives with me. I have another daughter who's 10. That's three different eras of kids, and they all think differently. They all act differently. And we have to start treating them and managing them differently, managing them according to their emotional intelligence. And that brings me to a chapter in the book, Mothers Raising Sons, about emotional intelligence. That means managing your emotions while managing the emotions of somebody else. Emotions, what are they? Feelings on the inside caused by pain or pleasure that move you in a direction. Your kids are going to have different emotions, but I ask you parents, what emotions are we putting off on our children? And then we get mad when they reciprocate that back to us. Somebody missed that. I said, how did you respond to your son or your daughter to make them respond to you like that? What kind of words have they been hearing coming out of your mouth? What kind of words? I mean, do you cuss a lot? Are you loud all the time? Do you yell? I mean, what kind of words are you using? And when it comes to our children, we have to meet them where they are.
We struggle with that part. We struggle with that part.
And we all have been in play. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. But I will tell you this, the psychological, spiritual, and emotional well-being of any child is a parent's responsibility. I said psychological, spiritual, emotional. That comes from a parent. And many times we lack that emotional intelligence at times. And then we got the nerve to yell at our kids about it. Well, you didn't teach them. You didn't teach your son how to control his emotions. You can't even control yours. You want to yell and scream all the time. And that's what he does. He yells and screams. So you can't get mad at him for doing what he saw. What they see is what they're going to be. So emotional intelligence and effective communication is key to any healthy relationships. And guess what? Sometimes you got to walk away, gather yourself, and come back. It's okay to do that. Stay out of your feelings, because when you're talking to somebody and the emotions are already high, nothing's going to be accomplished.
Absolutely. I have background in psychology and we talk all the time. One of the things we say that emotions and logic, they don't go together all the time, right? One is going to have an uptick and the other one, like they do this right here. Often, right? Emotions and logic. So typically you're right. If I'm highly upset, I'm not going to make the best decisions all the time, which is why we've got to learn to control that EQ. Listen, y'all drop that in the chat. Drop in the chat. I need to make sure I am attending to my EQ just like my IQ, right? We always hear IQ, IQ. Listen, you better work on your EQ, your emotional intelligence, also known
Right.
as with quotient, right? Your EQ. You got to work on
Yep.
that thing. Talking about this, well, great afternoon. We're so happy to have you from Wake Forest. Thank you for joining in. You guys, make sure you're dropping in where you're
Is that
joining
Mama
us.
Burnett? Dr. Burnett be on. That's Mama Burnett right there. You know,
Mama
Franklin, New Jersey. I
I
call it
love
Mama Burnett.
I
Good
love
people.
it.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. So listen, we started here. Let's lean on in a little bit more. What are some strategies? Let's start with I'm a middle school teacher.
Mhm.
It's the middle of the year, and things were going kind of okay at the beginning, but right now I'm stressed out to the max, and these kids just don't want to respond to any instruction that I'm giving them. What are you going to say to this teacher?
Well, I would tell them to first of all practice some self-care for themselves. If you're stressed out, it's obvious that you're putting that stress on somebody else. So
Absolutely.
there's some things that you need to talk to yourself about that you're going to do daily. First of all, you need to tell yourself that I deserve to be here. Because sometimes we question that. You got to tell yourself, I deserve good things. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of success. I am worthy of happiness. My presence matters.
I love
Sometimes we feel like we don't matter. And I think you affirming yourself, my leadership matters. You say, I'm not a leader. With anybody who's in charge of kids, you're a leader. And leadership
Absolutely.
doesn't require a title, but everybody with a title is not a leader. And you call yourself a leader and you don't expect to be talked about, you're not ready to lead.
Right.
Leadership comes with a target on you. Understand it's coming. No matter how many times, no matter how many times I fall, I will rise again. These are things that you have to tell yourself even before I step in front of some kids. You have
Absolutely.
to
Tell my
affirm
goodness.
yourself and you have to feed yourself and enlighten yourself and energize yourself so you can give that energy to somebody else. You coming in,
Absolutely.
like you said earlier, you coming in with an empty cup. How you going to give somebody something? Your cup is empty. So
Absolutely.
what do we need to do to fill our cups back up? Well, you got to disengage with some people. You know, you have to practice that emotional intelligence. You got to believe in yourself. You got to tell yourself that your future's bright. You know, you got to believe in yourself because that self motivation is what it starts with. And before I start talking to kids and trying to help kids, what are the needs of every child? Kids got 4 needs: acceptance, significance, security, and purpose. Acceptance is the feeling of being loved. How can we help kids feel love? Hugging them, giving them positive words. Significance is the feeling of being important. How can we help our kids feel important? Well, if I see my assignment on the wall that I got an A on there, to help, man, I'm walking past there looking at my name and my assignment. That makes me feel important. Like my teacher actually sees me. Kids don't buy from who they don't like. Kids
Mhm.
learn best when they like their teacher and when they think their teacher like them.
Yeah.
Third is the I say acceptance, significance, security, and being protected, and not just being protected in the physical sense, but doing a better job of protecting the psychological, spiritual, and emotional well-being of our children. And last but not least, I've been dogged by my stepfather. He told me I ain't nothing. Everybody said I'm this and I'm that. Give me some purpose. Give me my purpose for being there. Tell me I'm gonna be something. Tell me that you like me. Tell me that I belong to you, like Miss Sangster did. Miss Sangster said, "This is my baby right here." She don't understand what that meant to me. She claimed me.
Mm.
We got to claim our children. And
Mhm.
when you claim me, I don't care if you my biological mother, father, but when you claim me and you tell me I belong to you,
Yeah.
man, come on,
Yeah.
man.
We,
Come on. You know, when
we
you tell
are. Yeah.
you got the kids right there. And I remember my first day teaching, I was nervous and I was scared. And and I thought I was a tough guy, on the football field. And I get in front of these kids and I didn't know what to say, and they didn't know what to say. And I said, well, so I got to say something. So I said, good morning. And then I said, well, I don't half know what I'm doing. And they start laughing and falling out of their chair. And I said, but do know this, I care about you. And when I said that, the room got quiet.
Yeah.
Kids don't know how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna do it full speed, but I care about you. Educators, we got to show kids that we care about them. That's half the battle, is showing that emotional intelligence and showing that heart that I care about you, showing that emotional side. Like, look, you can count on me. I'm gonna be here. I'm not gonna always make the right decisions, but
Absolutely.
you can count on me. I'm gonna be here for you. That's what kids need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you say to the leaders in the spaces where there is a plethora of disengagement across students and staff? What's your words of encouragement to those? Because we have a lot of leaders who join in, or they watch it, they come back and they watch it, right? So what's your encouragement to the folks that are leading the heavy lifting right now in education? And we know it's compounded trauma on top of compounded trauma that we're trying to lead right
Sure.
now. So what do you say to the leaders who are saying, like, they see the disengagement, but it's like, where do I start?
Well, the biggest thing I would say to leaders, first of all, I want to thank you for being in leadership in this time. I mean, we're dealing with a country divided by voting this and voting that. And, it's a lot of mess going on in our society. It's a lot of mess going on in schools. So I want to thank you for being involved. The second thing I would tell you is that listen to your kids' voice. Kids have a lot to say, but every school needs a small group of kids, maybe 8 to 10 kids where they can meet once a week or once a month or twice a month and hear the voice of the kids telling you what they need. Then I can meet you halfway with what you need. Well, we need this and we need that. Well, let's work on doing it. This is how we could, because the kids, they on the front lines. They got their ears to the street. Most administrators dealing with administrative stuff, they're in their offices. I would tell you, get out of the office, get out to the school bus, high five kids off that bus and tell them that they're going to have a good day. Tell them that they're going to have a good year. Learn the names of your students. You can't do that when you're in the office, and you shouldn't just go to the classrooms when it's time to evaluate teachers. You need to go and just encourage teachers. Say, hey, I just want to stop by and make sure that you had everything you need, and just want to encourage you. You're doing a great job. Teachers need encouragement too.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we are encouraging these folks who are putting their lives on the line every day on the front lines for our children, and not just showing up when it's evaluation time or somebody gets in trouble, but just showing up, just saying, hey, I just want to check on you and see how you're doing. And boy, you probably shock somebody, because teachers are not used to that. And we got to continue to speak positive words into our students, into our staff, and into ourselves.
Absolutely. I think that's critically important. There's a book, and we've said it for years, if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students. And that's just not talking about putting the donuts, right, in the teacher's lounge. It's talking about socially, emotionally, right? Like, we've got to attend to the fact that your staff needs to feel like they belong. They need to feel like they're included.
The atmosphere has got to be set, like pictures on the walls, sometimes music or whatever it takes. We got to set the right tone, the right atmosphere at the right time for our kids. They walk in the environment. I want them to feel safe and feel at home. What can we do to do that? Well, when I walk into school and I look on the walls and I don't see no pictures and nobody look like me, I don't feel like I'm at home. It's almost like me coming home and I'm seeing some other dude's pictures on my walls. I'm asking my wife, like, this your cousin or something? What's going on? So
right.
Kids need to feel welcome. They need to feel at home. And as administrators, we set the tone. We set the temperature. We set the mood. So we need, if you're worrying about a school that's kind of off a little bit, look at the top and see what the temperature is. Because I've walked into school buildings all over the country, and I can tell when it's good leadership and when it's bad leadership. I walked into a school district in Texas, and I walked into the building. Lady said, "What do you want?" That's how I was greeted. She said, I looked around. I said, "You talking to me?" She said, "Yeah, I'm talking to you. What do you want?" I said, "Well, I'm here to do a professional development." And she looked on this log. She said, "I don't see your name over there. Go sit down."
In 2023, 24?
I'm not going to say no names, no year, but it was recent. And you know what I said? I ain't say nothing. I went and sat down. Then the principal came up there about 20 minutes later, and she said, "Mr. Jackson, why are you sitting up here in front?" And I said, "Well, your front office person told me I need to sit down and asked me why am I there?" And they looked at each other, and I could tell they were family members. Administrators can always hire family. All skinfolk and kinfolk. So, it just, and I said, if she's talking to me like, I don't care about me, I can handle it. But she's talking to me like that. How is she talking to children? How is she talking to parents? That's that type of stuff right there is what I'm talking about. She is setting the tone for that building. So administrators, we got to watch who we hire to be the first line when we're not there. because leadership is about how is everybody acting when I'm not there.
Absolutely.
What kind of atmosphere am I building? What kind of atmosphere do I have in my building when I'm not there? Do it still feel like I'm there when I'm not there, or does it feel like it's just chaotic? And I think that's why so many kids are disengaged. They want to feel connected. Kids want a connection, but it's got to
Absolutely.
be, they want to be treated fair and consistent.
I will also say that our young people these days truly are not with the fake stuff. They just are not with it. If you are not being real, like the
Come on.
realest version of you, they don't want it. They don't want it. And I think that so much of the work that we have to do, which people ask me, like, what's your lane? What's your specialty? Culture. This is it. This is what we're talking about. How are we creating environments where everybody that's coming in, even a stranger, right? Even your guest speaker, he's coming. You got to know your building has a vibe. Every school, it has a vibe, right? And so you got to ask yourself, what is our vibe? What is it? That's what culture is, right? It truly sets the tone for your students to be engaged or disengaged.
And I don't understand how people can say take culture out of school. If you take culture out of school, how you gonna get to know your students and your staff? Culture diversity is about acceptance and respect for one another. Everybody's unique, but everybody's different. Different races, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation. Before you talk about somebody, you got to take the plank out of your eye first. Absolutely. It's about acceptance and respect for one another. Can we sit down across from each other and have a conversation without the judgment? Can we have a conversation that you may not always like what I said, but you accept it and you respect it? And I feel like a lot of kids don't feel like they respect it. There's a lot of I had administrators in the past that, in the same, another school, I'm out here, high-fiving kids as they getting off the bus. And I noticed that none of the kids was talking to the administrator. It was just a little bit weird, but I kept going. And Mr. Jackson, thanks for you. I did a school assembly. Mr. Jackson, I learned a lot from you yesterday. And then finally the principal said something. And the young lady said, why are you talking to us? You don't never talk to us.
Kids will call you out. They will tell. They will tell if they feel like there's someone that's really truly listening. They absolutely will do that.
I was like, are you going to say something? Are you going to answer that? But the student was telling the truth. And like you said, kids are blatantly honest. And when kids are blatantly honest with you, get out of your feelings and just take it and learn from it. We all been there. Kids will call you out.
Yes. Y'all make sure that you've liked this video. Make sure that you've shared it. Make sure that even tomorrow you recommend somebody to come back, because we always want to just give you bite-sized tips and strategies just to help you along your way. Listen, Mr. Robert Jackson, tell the people, how can they find you? How can they connect with you after we get off of this live? Because you guys remember, we are always here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, I'm not hard to find on Instagram. You can find me at Rob J Motivates with the S. That's Rob J Motivates. On X, I guess they call it X now, so it's not Twitter anymore. RJ Motivates on X. And man, I don't like it, but I got on TikTok. So I know that's how some of our educators communicate. So Rob J Noop, N-U-P-E. Shout out to all the bros of the bond. Rob J Noop on TikTok. And, my website is robertjacksonmotivates.com. So feel free to check out my website. All my books on there, Becoming the Educator They Need, Mothers Raising Sons. First book I ever wrote, Black Men Stand Up. I think it's a good read. Got some workbooks. So, check out the materials.
I love it. Well, listen, it has been our absolute pleasure to have you grace us today to just share some tips on what we can do to forge ahead, because we know that it's critically important that we use our language to lift. It's critically important, y'all. And that's in chapter 11 of my book. It's critically, we got to make sure that we aren't a part of the problem as educators, right? We can't say these kids won't. These kids, we've got to be intentional about the words that we're saying, because again, they truly are giving off your beliefs out of your mouth. And so we got to check those beliefs so that we are saying the right thing. Speaking of that, y'all, have you secured your copy of Boss Moves? Tell the people what you think, because you grabbed a copy. What do you think about Boss Moves?
I mean, I think it gave some really practical information, like you were saying, that, we can apply to our lives. You want to be a boss? You know, you have to make sure that you are understanding your own emotional intelligence and you understand the power of energy and connection. There's power in connection. You know, your net worth, we determine your net worth.
Tell the people, listen, we want to say thank you guys. If you have not grabbed this book, I'm going to drop it in here so you can go ahead and make your order today. It's critically important that you go ahead and get your copy, but only listen, you guys know it's not just about the book. It's about us operating as a boss. It's about us making boss moves. So you guys know how we end every single time. Tell us one takeaway from the day. What are you walking away from the conversation with? And also drop, I'm making boss moves this week. You guys know what boss move stands for. Boss is not about your position. It's about your purpose. It's about activating leadership and understanding that we are going to bloom wherever we are planted. Do you hear me? We can create change wherever we are, whenever we are there, if we walk in with the right mindset. And we know that's being bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. You guys, it's been such a pleasure to be with you this week. Please go be the best version of you tomorrow. Somebody absolutely positively needs that to be the best version of them. Y'all go be boss. And again, thank you so very much, Mr. Jackson. We'll see you soon on somebody's stage.
Thank you.
Y'all be boss.